Hi, everybody. Welcome back. You are listening to Between the Vines, which is a podcast between Cornell University and Penn State University. I'm Jennifer Phillips Russo, viticulture extension specialist from the Cornell side of things. And today I'm back with Dr. Terry Bates, who is the director of the Cornell Lake Erie, take a breath, the Cornell Lake Erie Research and Extension Laboratory in Portland, New York. Welcome back, Terry. Thanks.
Hi, Jennifer.
So it's been a hot minute since we've done a podcast because we've all been dealing with a little natural disaster that happened to us in our area of a frost freeze event, the end of April.
Yes.
And we got hit here at the lab pretty bad.
Yeah. These frost events, freeze events, whatever you want to call them, they're so challenging now for like the rest of the season because we're trying to figure out, crop estimation's a big deal, and then the frost did not hit everybody equally, and even within a vineyard, you have a lot of variation. So it just becomes very challenging in trying to figure out where was the damage, how much was the damage, how's it going to impact, and when I have a mixed bag, even within a block, you're like, okay, how am I going to manage this block now in terms of fertilizer and spray and everything else? So
all of the questions we've been fielding for the last,
yeah.
yeah.
So, I mean, fortunately, unfortunately, our lab it really does have a mixed bag when it comes to frost damage. So we can at least show you
Right.
like what a great example it is that we got hit so badly.
And you and your team have been researching some tools to help us visualize that.
Right,
This is the
right.
perfect time to showcase what you've been
So
doing.
yeah, so let me share my screen. Okay, yes, we're back to our good old MyEV platform, and here are the blocks at the Claro lab. And so this morning I went out and I scanned our vineyard.
What did you
We
scan them with?
Okay, I did an NDVI scan, so I use a crop circle sensor. There are other NDVI sensors out there on the market, and so at this time of year, so we're talking about shoots. Well, you know, normally they're 3 to 5 inch shoots at this time, but we've got everything ranging from like 1, 2 inch shoots all the way up to, probably 6, 7 inches at this point. Anyways, we take that NDVI sensor and it's a side facing sensor. And at this time of the year, I put it right at the cordon or maybe just a little below the cordon. I don't know if I have a picture. I took a couple pictures today, but
I'm also going to interject and ask you to just let people know what exactly NDVI measures.
yeah, so that's normalized difference vegetative index. Really, it's
What's green, right?
yeah. So what is photosynthetically active tissue that is out there? Um, so it's using a ratio between the red and the near infrared wave bands, and you can get that from a sensor like that we use in the vineyard. A sensor on a vehicle in the vineyard pointed at the vines. You can get NDVI from a drone, you can get NDVI from a satellite, and they all have their pros and cons in terms of resolution and um, expense. So
But how,
I, from a research perspective, I like the infield ones because I can put the sensor where I want it. Like as the canopy grows, I can move the sensor, keep it in the growing region of the canopy. I mean, that's again from a research perspective, that gives me the most flexibility. We do notice like you can get so if you've followed some of the work we did last year, we compared ground-based NDVI and satellite NDVI in the immediate pre-bloom period to give us a pattern that we can predict crop off of. And you could do it with both. You just get higher resolution and less noise in your data when you're using the ground-based sensor. But you can use free satellite imagery. So if you don't have a sensor, there is a way to pull in that data. And everyone talks about the mixed pixel issue, that when you are getting satellite imagery, you're getting reflectance from the canopy and reflectance from the ground cover. And what we showed was with if you are within a management unit, like if I just did the Clairol Farm and I know we like our floor management the same across the board, then we can kind of negate that out of the equation and then look at the reflectance of the canopies. But when I tried to compare the Clairol farm, say with a neighbor's farm, which had different cover crop, that signal, you couldn't do the comparison. So
Wow.
doing it like region wide was very difficult. But like you could do it within a farm. We're already getting off topic.
We are, but I should just add, because some people who are listening to this are like, oh man, we don't have NDVI sensors. However, because of your research, a couple of our growers or our larger growers out there have purchased this to use in their operations. So this is
Yes.
useful in our region.
Right. I think one of the popular ones is Ag Leader has their Optrix sensor, which is similar to the crop circle sensor, and this is a great time of year. So this morning I went out and scanned my vineyard, and I did it because I wanted to get out ahead of Dan, who was spraying the vineyard. And we could have mounted the sensors on his tractor, and so as he's spraying, he's collecting data for us, but we didn't, just because, again, this is a research thing and I'm trying to get the data out. So I went out, I started scanning at 8:30. I was done at my desk with the data downloaded by 11. So, and that's, scanning, I don't know how many acres that is, but the whole farm's 50 acres, but I don't scan the whole 50 acres. I'm driving. I have two sensors pointed, so I'm driving down a row middle, and I'm pointed one at each vine on each side, and I drive every other row. So every vine is at least getting sensed from one side. And I do that whole vineyard. So all the raw data pulls in just like this. So again, whatever that was, 2.5 hours of driving up and down the vineyard rows, I got the data, and then I processed it.
And if you are listening to this on our podcast, you can also go to our YouTube channel and watch the video recording of this as well to see these maps.
So we have a ton of tutorial videos on the Efficient Vineyard website that shows you how to process the data. So I bring this raw data in, I clean it up, right? I get everything from the headlands off, and if there was erroneous data from the sensor, that all gets clipped out. I clip it all to the blocks that I want to investigate, and then I get this processed map, which then I can interpolate to my common grid. So again, there's videos on how to do that. So I interpolated all the data to a common grid, and and then colored it. So just simple. I did a Jenks break with 10 colors just to make the map look pretty.
And it does.
But okay, so here's the important thing is, so now I need to take this map out to the vineyard and validate it against some observations. So instead of trying to take observations across the whole field by myself, which would take forever, like I spent a couple hours scanning the vineyard. Now I have this spatial map, which I can validate. So I can go to the blue region or the red region and start counting. So again, shoots are 3 to 5 inches, and I can start. Normally, our NDVI at this time relates very well to shoot count. So I would say in the blue region, I had higher shoot count or higher shoot density than I would in the red region. But now we have this frost situation. And so I know already that we did not get any frost damage. So we have all primary shoots in this region behind the barn, in the barn block. And then down here in this lower section of railroad block, it's all tertiaries coming out at this time. So we had more frost damage. And then the colors in between are a real mixed bag of either, like, say in this lighter blue, there's probably some primaries and some secondaries, and then other shades are, they're mostly secondaries. And then you get in these oranges ones, there's going to be secondaries and tertiaries, and then in the real red, there's going to be tertiaries. So I need to go out and evaluate. So first of all, it's obvious to see that there's a real mixed bag, and there's a lot of gradients, and that's all on how the cold air was, moving in the vineyard the morning we got that freeze event. And I can pull this map into the grid generator. So if I go to my grid generator,
This is going to cut down on the time for somebody to go out and
Right. It's about directing your samples so you don't, yeah,
you're not just guessing.
you're not wasting time. Let me select my blocks that I want to look at, my Concord blocks. Yeah, let's just go with Concord, leave Niagara out of it. And I want to use the data set that I just had. So of course now, since we're killing all our bandwidth,
Yeah, by doing the podcast.
it takes a second for it to load since it's all web-based stuff. My 2024 NDVI scans, my May 20th scan, and there's my map.
Okay.
Okay, and I can stratify sample. So I would do it, I'd manually do it.
Yeah.
So I would select manual here, and then I would click on this zone and some greens. I'd take some blue colors, some green colors, some of
Yellow.
these orange ones, and some of these red ones, right? And then that would create for me a dynamic data set, which is essentially a data collector. And then I'd walk out to the field with my cell phone, go to those spots, and I would make my evaluations. I'd do shoot counts. Were they primaries, secondaries, or tertiaries? On the primaries, did the clusters survive? Because sometimes the shoot may make it, but the clusters didn't super cool. So you have this great big shoot there and there's no cluster.
And I'm seeing that, or the clusters are just really deformed.
Right. So yeah, you want to evaluate, is it a primary, secondary, or tertiary shoot? What's the cluster condition? What's the number of clusters? What's there? I mean, I do have, here's my photo.
And you've done this in the past as well. And there is a video on the blog to show people how to do that.
Yes, there is
Counts from your office.
Yeah, there is a tutorial on how to assess frost damage using a data collector, which again is the same thing I'm doing here. Is you can, in this case, I'm using a spatial map and selecting points throughout the vineyard to do the validation. I think that video is all about, what if I have nothing? All I have is my cell phone. I can set up a data collector and just walk through the vineyard myself and evaluate cluster counts or shoot number or whatever, and collect that data in the field as I go along and create your own spatial map. So yeah, I guess that's the thing we didn't say. You can collect NDVI from the ground, from a drone, from a satellite, but there's also you can walk out with your cell phone if you have the time to walk up and down and evaluate your rows and collect that data.
And I think either way is powerful, just to get maps just like this.
Yeah. Just wanted to show a photo.
Oh, I saw you dragging it down, but then it went.
There we go. Okay, so this is that lower end of railroad block. So if you're a grower in Pennsylvania right now, you're probably looking at this going, holy smokes, because they have what looks like, getting to be a full canopy at this point, and this looks like, a week after bud break. So these are all tertiaries that are coming out, and you can see these little shoots are coming out, and there's no clusters on these. So that red area in the lower end of our block is going to have nothing, right? So we're talking about where these yellow dots are, where I took that picture. I should have taken a picture. I've got a video, but I should have taken a picture up in the blue area, because that is a pretty full looking not full. I mean, there's still 5-inch shoots, but there's a lot of them and they look good.
They look drastically different from down below.
Yeah. So the NDVI picked up on that, again, gives us the spatial pattern. Now we can go out and do our evaluations, and it just saves me time and effort to be directed in how I go about this. And yeah, I mean, it's a challenge, but every challenge, there's a nice opportunity there to assess what's going on and then adjust your management accordingly.
Right. How do we move forward?
Yeah.
I guess that's really going to depend on each individual grower and what their goals are.
Yes. So, for example, we were talking before the podcast, like, yeah, it's a challenge, but there's an opportunity.
Right.
we do a lot of our sensor work in this railroad block, but but we took pruning weights in there this past year, and have had a couple big crops out of there, so the vine size is down in railroad block, and I could be crying that I have no crop in there this year.
Yeah.
Or I can say, all right, here's my opportunity to manage that vineyard as if it were a new vineyard and build my vine size, right? Grow a vine before you can grow a crop. And that block really needs some TLC to build our vine size back. I mean, the best way to get sustaining like higher yields and higher quality is to build vine size in our vineyard. So that's how I'll be looking at railroad block from a management perspective. Is I'm not just going to walk away from that block, be like, no crop. I'm going to like totally minimally manage that block. I'm like, no, I want to make those 1 pound vines, 3 pound vines, or even 3.5 pound vines if I can. So I will, well, actually, we're going to do a variable rate fertilizer trial in there. So we will be fertilizing it. We'll stay on top of the spray program. I probably won't give it a full spray program if I really don't have a crop there, but I'm going to keep those leaves clean so that all that wood ripens and all those leaves can do photosynthesis and just pump that root system full of stored carbohydrates and be ready for next year. And that'll carry over. It's not like, next year I do everything this year and I'm going to get 1 year return out of it. If I can build that vine size up, I'm going to get multiple years of higher yield out of that vineyard, because of, you're building that vine, you're giving it a bigger root system that can sustain, higher production over several years.
And we're coming off of 2 very heavy years. So the vines need a little bit of a break. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I think in general across the belt, the vine size is down this year. Was down over the winter due to the high yields the last couple of years.
right.
So it's a perennial crop. You can't just walk away from it 1 year. You want to keep managing it.
That's sort of the message we're getting out in our grower meetings as well. So our coffee pot meetings have started. They're every Wednesday in our region. Check lergp.com for where they are located. And we're also talking IPM strategies as well. But I know we're here to look at the map and to tell how it can sort of direct our management and what we're doing and give you a better idea of what's out there. You can clearly see the damage here where you may have thought you squeaked by, and then you can tell you just have not.
Yeah. Yeah. If I look out my office window, which is about here past barn block, I'm like, heck, our vines look great. And then I walk out in the vineyard and I'm like, they're dead.
I love that you did that. I love that you can see the difference, and you can see the difference now because people were wondering when it was going to be. When we start seeing that difference.
Yeah. And I think the point I also kind of wanted to make was, I mean, really, I came in here, I had the sensor, was on the gator, couple hours of scanning the vineyard and about 20 minutes of a little data processing. And now I have this really good map that I can use to go out and evaluate my vineyard. And then that'll be the first piece of information that I'll use in my crop estimation for this season. I mean, it was all done in less than a morning.
And I was just going to ask you to tie that all together, because if you have your zones and you go out and you take your measurements of clusters, you can then give a crop estimation based off of the area of each of those maps.
Right. Right. Those red areas where the tertiaries are now emerging with no crop. A week ago, I would have said, no, we're going to have a crop somewhere on this farm, like across the whole farm. There's going to be at least something everywhere. And now I'm seeing, okay, I have large sections in my vineyard that are not going to have anything. Which, again, it's all going to go into my crop estimate.
Yeah, well, thanks for doing that and to everybody's attention. Is there anything we'd like to add? Maybe we should chat a little bit about June 6th too.
Yep. I am, okay. Let's pitch it for myself. And we'll be doing it through your podcast too. So we're starting a new vineyard. We have a 5-acre block that we've cleared, and I've started doing what we would recommend to every other grower about doing a soil evaluation and then cover cropping that field and prepping it for planting next year. So I'm kind of going through that process step by step and trying to make videos as I go along. So we did, I soil scanned that field, but I've also taken some free data that's available off of the web to map that field. So I'm making videos on that, and they'll be posted on efficientvineyard.com, and I'm sure we'll talk about it as we move along. So just a plug to be looking out for that
Thank you.
information.
Really cool series that's going to be coming up, especially for new vineyard designs. And we're revamping old ones too, right? Because
Yeah.
part of that was the Riesling. You ripped it out. Now we're prepping it for new vineyard.
Yep.
The other
So,
thing
and June 6th. Yeah.
This is a great,
big tech day.
So if all this interests you, you really need to get to the Cornell Lake Erie Research and Extension Laboratory in Portland, New York on June 6th. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I don't know if we have a registration link out there on the top of my head, because it's on our website. Take a look if you want more information, but go ahead, Terry, talk about who's coming.
Oh, so the headliner is that we're going to have this NIO-TED it's a robust robotic tool carrier. It goes over it's big enough that it goes over a grapevine row. So the NIO-TED's going to be here to demonstrate. It's autonomous. So what's cool to me about that is it's an autonomous robot. Okay, great. Everyone's got a robot these days, but this one is like large enough and it's robust and it's a tool carrier. So it's kind of like that idea of, having a multi-function robot, something that reliably goes up and down grape rows, but now you can start attaching, implements to it to actually do stuff as it goes down the row. So that's cool. There's Abi Silwa from Carnegie Mellon University is going to be up here with showing some of the technology. They've been working on a pruning robot. Yu Zhang is going to be out here with his phytopathology bot. We'll have our vineyard mechanization stuff out. Who am I missing? I know I'm missing. Oh, Katie Gold.
Yep.
Kathleen Canali from Cornell and Rob Chancia from the Rochester Institute of Technology are both going to be here talking about drone sensing imagery that they've been using for different things in the vineyard.
And then Lynn Sinowski, she's going to be out here as well.
Yep. With the vision guided sprayer, so that we have it here at the lab and we've been using it, and she'll be probably talking about her electric weeder and all sorts of good stuff.
And then I just want to plug one other day that we have, which is the following week on June 12th during our coffee pot time. So it's Wednesday starting, I believe we start still at 10 a.m., but again, it's on our website. This is just catching us off guard. We have a soil health day, and it's not just us for the soil health day. We're bringing in NRCS and the New York State Soil Health Alliance. So we'll have the truck here that simulates rainstorms and infiltration and runoff. It's going to be a really great time to come out and take a look at some of the projects that are going on and learn a little bit about soil health. So both days we'll be providing lunch to all the attendees. It's always good to bring food. People come in and see cool stuff and some research.
Yep. Okay. So
All
June 6th is our autonomy day. June 12th is soil health, and then be on the lookout for podcasts about the new planting and all the stuff we're doing to get that field ready.
So we'll try to bring these a little bit more often now that the growing season is kicked off. So thank you for joining us today and look forward to those new sections. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below or feel free to email us. You can find all of our contact information on our website. Thank you again for joining us, Terry. It's such cool work, and it really takes sort of the guesswork out of it and directs people's efforts. So I appreciate all the work that you do.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everyone.
Yeah.